In news that we have all been waiting eagerly for, because the demand for this has been gnawing at every sports fan for decades now, the International Olympic Committee has caved into massive public pressure, Steve Milton, and announced that breakdancing will now be an official medal sport in Paris in 2024. Yeah, I know, about time. Whew. Has the IOC completely lost its mind?
No. If I had more than 2 thumbs, I'd give them all thumbs up on this one. This is a good thing. This is excellent. Having been at Olympics long enough back to the Stato days of 80 and 84 and watch sports that nobody could really care about, I can guarantee you this. You watch this thing once and you're going to watch it the next time. Just like the doubles curling, you know, we had, you know, that's a bastardization kind of sport. This is X Games stuff. And it's particularly in the winter games. It's a little less so in the summer games, but in the summer games too with BMX, they're going X Games. They got to do it. New crowd. I think it's going to be great.
Rick?
I think it's good and bad. The bad part about it is not another judged sport. We have too many of them already. Give me something that is timed or points or goals or whatever the case is. But I understand the dynamics of attracting a new audience and a younger audience, and this will certainly do that. It will be, without a doubt, unless something really crazy or amazing happens, breakdancing will be the most talked about event at those Olympic Games.
Did the Olympics turn into American Idol? Like, is that what's going on here? Did it turn into a talent show? I mean, the last time I checked, that the Olympics, as far as I knew, you know, stretched back, you know, to like the 1800s in Greece, and there's history towards this. And, you know, may call me an old fogey or whatever. I'd like to keep it that way. And I know that you've got to keep up with the times in some aspects, but I always thought the Olympics was the highest brand of athletic accomplishments. And I'm not saying that, you know, breakdancing, heck, I mean, I used to do it back in the days, believe it or not, in the 80s.
No, you can't believe that. No.
Yeah, believe it or not, that's what was going on with Bubs back in the high school days. But this is not an athletic sport for the Olympics. Again, that's a separate category in my opinion. And maybe call me an old fogey, but I'd like to just keep it to javelin and track and field and what these original athletic accomplishments were.
I got so many problems with this that my list, I could do this, we do it short here, but I could go forever. The first thing, as Rick says, judge sport. Show me the judge sport in the Olympics that has come in that has not almost immediately led to a fiasco with judging. Steve, of all people, you have written prolifically and beautifully about skating judging messes. Guaranteed there will be a mess. Second of all, going for the youth audience. Okay, if the youth is the youth from 1983, sure. But if you really want youth audience, you go for esports now or something like that. And the third thing is this not guaranteed to be just a medal sport for North America and maybe a few spots in Europe? Are we going to be seeing do we see great breakdancing from Africa and all these other places, the Middle East?
You will.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
You're way wrong. You're way wrong on that. You know, if you go to a town square now, admittedly in Europe, but in Asia, particularly in Japan, this is going to loosen things up there. Yeah, you're going to find that. It's what happened in places like sports like figure skating. And you're right about figure skating, and you're right about the judging, all of you. And but you've never seen me say get figure skating out of the Olympics. What you've seen me say is get the better judging. You're always going to have a little bit of this, but listen, people that talk about sports and judging are full of crap because and say look at hockey, look at baseball. There are more judging decisions in baseball than in any other sport. There are more judging decisions in hockey, what to call, what not to call, all the time. We're just used to them, and we have a winner,
Steve. But you can still figure out a winner even if you took the refs out of it. When we play shinny hockey, you still know who won the game. You don't need.
We do that in figure skating now too. We do that in figure skating. We do that in figure skating now too.
You can't tell who the winner is in figure skating without a judge.
You can't. But if on the new point system, they says you get this for triple axel, you get this for that. That's what's good about the new figure skating, and they'll have to do that kind of thing with breakdance. And there's still going to be an element of a little more presentation element. That's what I like. I think sports should be presented well as because there's some pretty ugly sports out there. I mean, how many crappy hockey games do we sit through? We think it's great because the score was close. Well, they weren't. They were worth watching. Yeah. So that one of the things about sports like this is they make it worth watching.
Yeah, I believe that there will be worldwide interest in this. Because I mean, all I have to do is look at the K-pop scene that's going on right now, the Korean, South Korean dancers and singers that are going on right now. I think it will certainly attract worldwide attention because I think dance is a worldwide kind of aspect, and everyone sort of does it. But again, I just don't see it stacked among, again, the 100-meter dash. I know you have to change with the times. I just don't think it's an Olympic sort of sport. I think it has its own category. You're talking about judging. I presume that Jennifer Lopez will be a judge. I guess you could just go on and on. It doesn't appeal to me. I'll watch because I watch sports, or if you want to call it a sport, but I don't know.
Take us home.
Hey, listen, J-Lo will boost ratings, number one. Number two, I can't wait for Tiny Talent Time in 2028. This is the precursor to that.
I can
guarantee you guys are going to watch it. I can guarantee it.
I want for our next episode, Bubba to be doing it in his parachute pants from 1982.
Okay.
I think I still saved a pair. Trust me.
We're not getting rid of track and field here. What we're getting rid of is the modern pentathlon and tug of war, which was an original sport, that kind of thing.
Tug of war would be great if we brought that back, and live pigeon shooting. That would be good too. Although some people might be a little upset by that.
They used to have the tug of war in the network Battle of Network Stars. It was outstanding.
Yeah. Hey, if we can get Catherine Bach doing breakdancing, we are set.
Or Cheryl Teagues.
Or Cheryl Teagues. Lou Marsh Award was given out this week. It is the consensus agreed upon, I think, top award for sports in this country, Athlete of the Year. This year, two winners. Alphonso Davies, a soccer star for Bayern Munich, who had an unbelievable, probably the best year of a Canadian soccer player ever. And Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, who was an offensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs, who primarily got the award, Bubba O'Neill, for his humanitarian work, which I think all of us agree was amazing. I don't think anyone in this panel is going to be pointing to that and saying not amazing. We all acknowledge it. We all respect it. But this means that the Athlete of the Year for Canada was primarily given to a guy for his not playing sports and not being an athlete this year. Right choice?
I think in a year of 2020 where everything has been different, this is kind of the right selection. And I think the vote of 18-1 kind of proves it that, some people say it was rigged actually, but I mean, I don't buy that. I believe that this was the year. If this was ever going to happen, it was going to happen this year. And I think it also showed that athletes can be unselfish. They can be community minded. And I looked. There are lines in the requirements for the Lou Marsh Trophy that do suggest, community work. I'll just call it loosely. And I think he did one of the most unselfish things. He was also the starting offensive lineman on a Super Bowl champion, signed a $46 million contract. So if there was if they were going to say there was a superior football player playing in the National Football League, he would be it, along with what he did for, quote, his community. So I think if there was a year for it, guys, this was the year.
I'll buy into a little bit of that because, 2020 has been an awkward year. It's been an odd year, and we're doing things. We're being forced to do things a little differently. I did not get a vote, and I would not have voted for him. He won the Super Bowl. Yes, he's a talented athlete on a championship team, and yes, he did an amazing thing and is doing an amazing thing and working on the front lines at a long-term care facility in Quebec and should be honored as such. But as the Athlete of the Year for this nation, Alphonso Davies was the guy for me because here is a guy who is playing on the biggest stage, won a Champions League title, the first Canadian ever to do so, is one of the best left backs in the world, period. I mean, that's on the planet. And there's a lot of great players in that category. He, to me, was the runaway winner for this award. Not only that, but he helped Canada, solidify, I think, its standing in not only the world of soccer, but generating that support and that final kind of stamp of approval from FIFA to say, yes, Canada, US, and Mexico can host the World Cup in 2026. He was a part of that bid group as well. Alphonso Davies, for me, is the runaway winner of this award.
Go ahead, Scott.
I mean, I can't support Tardif. I think what he did is amazing. I like, and again, it's really hard because as soon as you say I don't support him as Lou Marsh Award winner, it sounds like you're dumping on the guy. I'm not dumping on the guy at all. I think what he did was a humanitarian, was beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful thing the man did. And I think there are a litany of other awards that he would qualify for. And I would absolutely say, yes, 100%, I'm on board with that. But this is for the athlete of the year. And it becomes so modern and not in a positive way that we must have the feels every time we give out an award now. This is for the Alphonso Davies, Jamal Murray. I would have been okay with. Jamal Murray was amazing. Christine Sinclair, who became the all-time goal-scoring leader in international soccer, I would be okay with that. Laurent, it was amazing what he did, but he was by no stretch of any definition the athlete of the year, Steve. Not. And so, no.
Well, I'm going to say I'm with Bubba on this one. I think 2020 was a special year. You need to reflect that. The other part of this is it's not like the CP athlete of the year. And all of us, I believe, have a vote for the Canadian Press athlete of the year, both male and female and teams of the year. And if it was a straight vote, there's discussion in this. It's very much like the Hockey Hall of Fame where you have to be nominated, but then there's discussion. And I think in this year, you want to highlight, he did enough athletic stuff to be considered. And when you've got to reflect the way it was this year, I don't think this isn't going to set the tone for anything else. If you want to know the truth, I voted Davies hands down. I would have done it months ago for CP athlete of the year, male, and I don't even know that there was a second place. If you want to know the truth, but given the special circumstances of this year, and we want to reflect that year, I think. I'm fine with this, especially because discussion took place before the vote.
How much pressure?
What?
Go ahead, Rick.
How much pressure do you think was put on the Lou Marsh voters after Sports Illustrated named Tardif one of their sportsmen or sports people of the year? Probably a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did cast my ballot for the Canadian Press Athlete of the Year, and male and female and team went with the all breakdancing slate this year. I thought that was the
You will after Paris. Okay, welcome to the 1 minute debate. It's my turn to be critical here and tell everybody to keep this one short. Nobody knew the topics beforehand, and the topic today is which sport, deliver us a nice little sermon on this, which sport will look most different, or individual or league, anything like that will look most different after the pandemic compared to pre-pandemic. Go ahead, Rick.
All right, 1 minute on this. I will start with, throwing this up in the air and thinking it's going to be the Canadian Football League. Because, well, for a number of factors. Number one, I think the finances of this league are still a huge red flag in terms of whether they can get it done if we're still in some sort of restrictive stage with COVID-19. Yes, there's vaccines on the way and it's all great news, but the numbers, the case counts continue to be very worrisome. Hopefully 2021 is much better. But from a Canadian Football League standpoint, I can see smaller rosters. I can see maybe some canceled games if there's still those, restrictions. I don't see the bubble format, being a thing in 2021. But yes, smaller rosters, smaller budgets, which will mean smaller contracts. Certainly the XFL is going to have a hand in this as well. I think the Canadian Football League is, one of the entities out there that really has to, it's done a great job of rebranding and refreshing itself for the last decade especially. And I think 2021 is going to be another year where it kind of has to have a rebirth of sorts. And fingers crossed, it works.
Okay, Radley, you're up.
All right. Well, I don't know if this counts as a league, but I'm going with the Olympics because the Olympics, presumably are having the Olympics in 2021. At least that is the plan. And I just think when you look at what's going on right now, and it's not just, quite honestly, it's not just the pandemic. It's also politically in the world. I think we're going to see a lot of athletes who would have been in Beijing not be there. Or Tokyo. A lot of athletes who would have been in Tokyo not be there. I think you're going to see a number who their countries are not sending people for whatever reason it may be. I think you are just going to see a lot of changes in the depth of the field in some of these, and you'll still have the superstars there. I mean, the the Usain Bolt of today, the Andre DeGrasse, he'll be there. But what you're not going to see, I don't think, are a lot of the folks at the bottom end of the spectrum, at the bottom end, the depth people who never had a chance to compete, but are there for the experience. I don't think a lot of them are going to be there. And those are the great stories, a lot of them.
Good point. Yeah, well, it's a country like the Seychelles going to send anybody, right? Okay, Bubs.
Well, I'm just going to use the actual definition of what we're talking about, of what's going to look different. I think nothing's going to look different. I think that everything will return to as we remembered it. And I think that's going to be a good thing, because we've now gotten used to things being different in sports. And that goes all across the board, whether that be no fans, whether that be athletes not competing, whether that's the announcers not being at games, simulated noise, simulated fan noise, cardboard cutouts in the stadium. And we have now gotten used to everything being changed during the pandemic. And thank goodness, when the pandemic does end, everything will go back to normal. We are creatures of habit. We miss our habit. And I'm looking forward to everything going back exactly the way it used to be. That's just my thought.
Good thought too. I'm going to go with something that had been rising very heavily for a long time, kind of plateaued and is starting to rise again. And that's mass running. Things like around the Bay, the New York Marathon, the Boston Marathon, but more of the smaller things, because you got to have money. People are now very, very aware, not just of this pandemic, but that any pandemic, that kind of thing could happen. And my guess is, and of course, this is, you can't run these things because of the narrow streets without having people close together, and remembering it's not the same as an audience going to a game, other than the fact that when they cheer at a game and then they're really throwing things out, everybody's breathing hard all the time, and it takes money to really have all the precautions against all of these things. We're going to be very, very aware that if it's not COVID, it could be something else that happens again. I think it's really going to make mass running look very, very different events on the street. And that's it.
We just had our first Christmas miracle.
I know.
Steve hit the mark right on. There you go. It is. There is hope for the future. We're into the early days of Hanukkah. Maybe it's a Hanukkah miracle instead. Either way.
I was driving the sled and I was holding the menorah on that one.
And also another miracle today. Bubba O'Neill, didn't tell you off the top. Bubba O'Neill recovering from severe dental surgery. 19 teeth pulled out yesterday. Oh, there you go. Was it 19? No, a couple teeth. Anyway, yes, Bubba did have dental surgery, so thank you for toughing it out today. Couldn't even tell. There you go. Folks, thank you for watching. Give us your comments. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think is going to be the sport that is going to be most different pre and post pandemic, if any? What do you think about the Lou Marsh Award? What do you think about breakdancing in the Olympics? We would love to hear any of your comments about all of these things, and we would love it if you would subscribe, and we would love it if you'd be back here again next time. Talk to you soon.